believes he will be Kung Fu champ. That's all. So then he gets the self-belief and he beats the snow leopard in the final battle royal. So the secret to successful, successful investing, as per John Bogle, is simplicity. That's it. Nothing complicated is required. All advertisements, all advice that you get from media is all leading to complexity. Because only in complexity they will have their vocation, they will get their income. But really it is just simplicity. That's it. The secret of investing is making it very simple. In deference to the 4 sponsors who sponsored this morning, they are all 4 good AMCs. A really good, a simple investment plan. If you look at the 4 very good sponsors we have got for today, you just take a portfolio comprising 25% blue chip, Franklin blue chip, 25% Reliance Growth, 25% Magnum Contra, 25% DSP BR100. I can tell you that very, very few other investment plans will beat this. Very, very few. Extremely few. Okay, let's meet after 10 years. I will be happy with 1% of your annual gain. This is my free of cost advice to you. I don't mind setting up a meeting 10 years down the line where you can give me 1% of your accumulated wealth. That is if you stick to this plan for the next 10 years. That simple it is. If you have no other distractions along the way, you don't even have to change this. I'm confident that these 4 funds, okay, I think all 4 of them are more than are more than 12 years old, each of them. So they've got long-term track record, and I think they'll be there for the next 20 years. So, and these are flagship funds from these fund houses. I see no reason why they should underperform. There was this gentleman called Bill Gross. Okay, Bill Gross is another legend in investing. He's the founder of a leading bond fund manager called PIMCO, Pacific Investment Management Company. Again, he's a proponent of very low cost fund management and stuff like that, but he's a bond fund manager. He's not an equity fund manager. I was talking too much about equity till now. Bonds also have got a place in your portfolio. Let's see what he has to tell. First thing he says, where are the customers' Gulf streams? Okay. When he went and met investors, some of the fund managers, he found that they had Gulf streams. That is, these aircraft are called Gulf streams. He told, doesn't matter if you have or don't have Gulf streams, your customers should have Gulf streams and only then you should get it. So keep an eye on expenses. The advisor shouldn't make the money, the investor should make the money. Okay, the investor, not the advisor or manager, needs to own the Gulf streams. Again, there's a lot of take on this. There's a classic book, where are the customers' yachts? I don't know whether Sir John Templeton or someone, when they went to Wall Street, went to the marina nearby, all the fund managers and all that showed them the yachts. He said, this doesn't matter. Where are the customers' yachts? Because if the customer gets his yacht, you will get yours automatically. Fund expenses should be minimal. Always keep an eye on expenses. Always keep an eye on expenses. That's why the SEBI ruling on ULIPs has not come a moment too late. Okay? It's a fantastic ruling because ULIPs were one of the most expensive products in India today. The most expensive products. And the sad part was investors were willing to invest in ULIPs without even looking at expenses. You must look at expenses. Today in India, I think the lowest cost investment alternatives are mutual funds. There's simply nothing that can beat a mutual fund on expenses. So if you want your Gulf stream, go for mutual funds. If you want your advisor or your investment manager, then you go for ULIPs. If you are in line for Barack Obama got the Nobel Prize for peace. If you also want a Nobel Prize for charity, then I give you options. So in the Indian context, beware of high cost insurance products. Be extremely wary of insurance products that do not offer insurance as the most important thing. Be very, very, very careful about it. The long term is the right term. Stop the fixation on short term trends. Short term economic data does not make, only send signals that confuse you. Look only for long term data. So the India story is basically about demographics, globalization shifts, political cues. Take those cues for making your investment decisions, not short-term data. When you think you have found an answer, think again. You have never figured out what happened in the last 20 years. You will not figure out what is going to happen in the next 20. Take it from me. I was making a small presentation to a university in Coimbatore. They wanted the title of the presentation was 2020. I think it was a play on all this IPL and all happening. So they wanted to know what happened in the last 20 years and what's going to happen in the next 20 years as far as financial planning is concerned. Only when I did research on the last 20 years, I found that when in the year 1990, not even one thing I would have guessed properly for the next 20 years. So I would never have known that, the most popular entertainment thing would have been an iPod, for example. Impossible to guess. In 1990, I never known that, they would have the best Indian bank would be a bank like HDFC Bank, for example. None of this was, or the most preferred airline would be Vijay Mallya's airline. I mean, we never knew all of those. So the next 20 years also, we don't know at all. John Bogle has got complete disdain for formulas, models, treatises, and, trying to predict the future. And he says, rest assured, by that time you figured out something someone else would have, and the price would have got reflected. Turn over your portfolio at snail's pace. Every time you churn and you turn your portfolio, it adds to someone else's profits, not yours. You can take it for granted if someone is telling, switch from this, go to that, switch from that, go to this, go to the next hot thing. It's not with your interest in mind that he's telling, it's with his interest in mind. Okay, so in the Indian context, always beware when someone asks you to switch or churn funds. Always be, when you buy a house, if you bought a house in, say, Baswangudi or Jayanagar or something, possibly for after 3 generations you'll shift, or you'll never shift. Your great-grandson will be very, very happy that, my great-grandfather bought a house in Baswangudi. Even today when I go where Baswangudi and altar, I wish I had a great-grandfather who bought something here. They say that, 1920 when, he built this, it was all a forest. So I keep telling him, I hope my grandfather had taken a thing in such a forest here. I don't care. Because those people are, staying in some big villas now in such fantastic places. Again, like what even John Bogle said, long term is the right term. Risk and returns are Siamese twins. They are attached at the hip. You cannot get returns without risk. Getting 20% plus returns in an equity market, heated equity market, means assuming huge risk. So you must be aware of such risk. In the Indian context again, remember the hype over tech in 2000 or real estate in 2007. Real estate I am not competent to comment on because first of all the data is very sketchy and I have not much data. But just the anecdotal data or the hype that I see again it convinces me that one should be very wary when going for real estate also. Try and separate the hype from the reality. The most dangerous investing advice, this time it is different. This was said by Sir John Templeton, seconded by Bill Gross. Human nature and emotion remains the same, completely the same. We have fear and greed. Our grandfathers also had fear and greed. It is not different this time. Economic and stock market cycles usually reflect greed and fear. Okay, but there could be some cues that are fundamentally different, so keep an eye for it. It could be new technology, new regulations, new political equations and all that. So be on the lookout, but otherwise greed and fear don't change over a period of time. His last piece of advice, beware, or the second last I think of Bill Gross, beware the hustler. Basically the hustler, Wall Street and Main Street are full of hustlers. Investment advice is basically meant to line their pocket, not yours. Okay, I am telling it with so much conviction only because I know fully well that Deepak he is not rendered insecure by all this. He himself is convinced about such gospel truth. You must have primary responsibility for your portfolio, for your financial future. Do not expect the advisor to have primary responsibility for that. You should have it. Okay, that's the most important thing. Indian context, always ask about fees and expenses. I wonder how many of you actually read your investment documents and all that once you have got your account statements and your insurance cover notes and all that.